Hi, everyone. Today we are going to work on a coach or leadership play card. We're going to identify leadership dispositions that you, based on your experience and priorities and values, might be able to bring into life in whatever setting you choose to apply these dispositions within. I'll explain more in a second, but for now, if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to try to share my screen, and I'd like you to get out a paper and a pen and make sure that you can take notes. You'll need them. All right, share this screen. So we're going to go through a series of very brief reflections. The first, question number one, is we'd like you to think back to when you were an athlete. It's not to suggest that you're an athlete now. This could have been when you were in, I don't know, Little League baseball or youth soccer, or even just playing around in the playground. But go back to that time in your life. Think back to when you were an athlete, when you were young, when you loved to play. Imagine a specific coach you admire. Now, important to this, it has to be a specific person. That person did not have to be perfect, but it has to be a person that you admired. Not the concept of a coach or a coach from a movie, but a coach that you admired at this age. What are the top three qualities you would have used to describe them? Now, if we were together, I would set a clock for about, let's see, I kind of want to put on some background music here. I'd set a clock for, I don't know, 60 to 90 seconds, just long enough for you to go back and think of that person and start to tell us what they were like. Top three qualities. So go ahead and start that process now. If you want, you can pause the video while you think, but make sure you have three qualities. Those could be adjectives or terms, or they could be short phrases. Describe that person to us. Now, question number two, adult you, student you, professional you. Think of a current coach you admire or a current leader that you admire. What are the top three qualities you use to describe that person? So this could be a peer, it could be a parent, it could be anyone in your field, actually. So it's unless your parent is in the field, I suppose you could use that. But question one was you as a youngster. Question two is now you as a professional or a graduate student. Think of a current coach or leader you admire, ideally in your domain. Describe that person. Pause the video if you need to. Take about 60 to 90 seconds to do so. When you click back in, we'll move on to question three. And we'd like you to focus on a leader outside of sport. Outside of sport, it's still the adult you, the current you. Think of someone who you respect outside of your domain. Once you can identify that person, what are the top three qualities you would use to describe them? Now, I'll give you a little bit of history on this. Some people find this one to be challenging. Some people find this to be a little tricky, which is an interesting thought experiment on its own. But it might be a professional that you have seen from afar. Maybe it's like a Nick Saban type, or maybe someone in politics or in your church or in your family, whatever it might be. But they're a leader outside of sport completely. So a quick review. Question one was thinking back to when you were a youngster, just enjoying sport, playing, moving around the world and having fun, identifying a leader in that time of your life. Then you shift to now for question two, and you identify a leader within your domain who you really respect. And for question three, we think outside of that domain. Just for sake of throwing names out there, mine would have been probably Victor Cooper when I was a young athlete. And I have some qualities I'd use to describe him. As a current professional, I'll use Nick Saban. I think he does a lot of things well. So I might take Nick Saban, describe some of his qualities. Then I would shift outside of sport and I might think of my dad and some of the things, his best qualities that he has brought to the table. Now, once you've done all this, what you should have is a list of approximately 9 qualities. Now, if you did more than 3, that's fantastic. If you couldn't get to the asked or requested number, then please work to do so. And what we're going to do together over the course of time is we're going to identify some commonalities. One thing that we often learn is that after that first prompt, we find the sort of qualities that are, I don't want to use the word pure, but I just might. At that level, people often note leaders who were encouraging to them or had a good time. Funny is a quality that often comes up. Those qualities might advance over the years. You might find some commonalities between them, but ultimately what you have is a list of about 10 adjectives or short phrases that define effective leadership from your vantage point, from your perspective and your lived experience. The final request of all of this, we're going to want to see this list eventually. But the final request is from that list, we want you, leader, developing leader, future leader, to circle 3 to 5 of your favorites from that list that you created. Because the idea now is to envision yourself 20, 30 years down the line and imagine someone that you've been involved with doing this same experiment with you in mind. What are the qualities that they would use to have described their experience with you? So I might be over speaking here, but here's the full recap. We're going through moments in time, in and out of domains, to create a list of qualities that matter to us. We're then selecting some of those qualities as dispositions or characteristics that we're going to try to uphold, imagining that someone that we lead 20 years down the line might say the same things about us. That's the easy task. The next task, which we're going to go over together throughout our time together in this course, is a little tougher. And that one is, how do we bring these qualities to life routinely in a steady and consistent way, especially when it matters most? That's our starting point to leadership development.